Besties, if you missed my Aurory Talks on Wednesday, you missed an absolute roller coaster. I had Johnny on the show, and trust me, he dropped so much alpha, it was insane. But don't worry, I got you covered. This week alone, Aurory has been spoiling us, and the hype is real. And now, I've got the inside scoop that will get you even more pumped for what's coming. So no more waffling. Let's dive into the juiciest moments from Aurory Talks and get you hyped for what's to come in 2025. Now we all know that Nefties will be changing and our standard Nefties will be released back into the world to live a happy life. But there is one massive change happening and the chat was so pumped for it. Johnny mentioned that the massive change is that we'll be able to acquire our Nefties and build a bond with them.
The ability to really differentiate what a prime experience is versus standard, and we're going to stop calling them prime and standard, honestly, because the way we're going to be, how can I say this without like shooting myself in the foot here?
It's a safe space, say everything.
It's a safe space, yeah. Now the idea with the Nefties is we want players to be able to acquire them. Yes, much like Pokemon, obviously we'll be careful with the patent and all that, but
don't throw balls.
And then the ability to bond with your Nefties, the ability to tame them, and then based on the relationship that you have with your Nefty, then they'll fall into a certain category, right? And I'm not gonna say more than that, but that's kind of like the premise. So you'll have to maintain a certain bonding level, quote unquote, with some Nefties. Currently, okay, fuck it, I'll say it. Currently, we're thinking of having those be standard. So typically, imagine you get into a land and then you see these Nefties, these wild Nefties, and you try to tame them. And you manage. You're successful in taming one of them. So you're like, all right, you're bringing it back in your squad. But it's a tamed standard Nefty at this stage, right? For the lack, so everybody understands. But this tamed standard Nefty could have a wild tendency to like want to go back into the wild. So you have to kind of manage his wildness.
Now, the reason we feel that this is such a great change from the standard Nefties we have now is because you're not 100% guaranteed to keep the Nefties you capture, and it still has a chance to escape from you. The thing I really enjoyed about this leak is that there are certain things you have to do to make sure you can keep that Nefty, including feeding it, looking after it, and just making sure that it's happy.
And you have to kind of either give him food, resources to kind of maintain him happy, or to keep him in your squad, hit or her, whatever. And if you don't, then it goes back into the wild. Like it says, all right, fuck you, I'm leaving. And then, it goes back. But if you maintain that relationship long enough, at a certain point, you'll have the option to kind of bond with it. It's another layer on top of taming. And then that bonding would be the prime Nefty that you would then acquire for you personally. That's kind of what we've been talking about. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's going to be the final kind of logic, but happy to hear any feedback that you guys have.
Now, one of the biggest things that Johnny mentioned is that the team have been discussing being a cross-chain game.
So we did talk about Ronin internally. I think the door's not closed. I think there might be some legalities to figure out though first. But it's we're not tied to one chain. Like that's why we built ThinkSpace essentially.
Now this is massive, as currently Ronin is sneaking in front of a lot of other chains and becoming one of the best for gaming. And with Aurory flirting with the idea of allowing Ronin Network to be a part of their eco space, hopefully it will bring in a flood of new players. Now, as we know, Sync Space was made so the team can branch off into different spaces, and this could be a good call to see how the Ronin network will respond to Aurory, as some of their games are quite similar to Aurory as it is.
Because they kind of open the chain, everybody's going on Ronin. But I know there's a lot of similarities with Ronin and the game and Aurory. So I think we're not close to it. It's just our team, our Web3 team, has kind of been super busy building the infrastructure for the economy that we're going to be using on the PvE side.
Ronin was not the only chain the team were flirting with the idea of joining, though. There were loads of different people that they were toying with the idea of, but I'll let Johnny tell you all of them.
Yeah, Ronin was on there. Avax was on there. We had Sui on there. And Monad also is on there. I think those were the ones that we talked about right off the top of my head.
Now we have the new patch, we have seen a lot more new faces in Blanche. And the great thing is, our daily active users have gone up. Now why is this a great thing? Because it shows that the team are doing all they can to push Aurory out to the masses. Johnny mentioned that they are working with guilds in the Philippines, doing in real life tournaments and being part of the GAP, and also going on podcasts just to talk about Aurory.
You guys know we're going to be participating in the GAP Season 9, which is great. I think there's been some great reception there. We're part of a cool lineup, actually, with a lot of cool games. And we're offering a unique skin for those that actually participate. I think it's open for everybody. And then after that, we're going to have some real life tournaments happening. Rafi Key is going to be on site there, kind of hosting multiple different tournaments from different guilds. I am actually going to be on Sylphi's Academy podcast on Monday, super early at like 7 or 8 a.m. for me to talk about Aurory.
We're not even awake.
So we're going to be pushing all directions in the Philippines to kind of get Aurory out there, because I think there's a real fit there.
With all of this going on, it's no surprise that more people are trying out the game. And even the team were surprised at how well the reception has been with this new marketing push.
We do actually have some great early numbers from my lead engineer actually today. Told me, Johnny, is this normal? Like, we doubled our daily average users. I'm like, well, it should be, because we've been pushing a lot, with all the events, with the everything that we're organizing in the Philippines. I think YGG is picking up a lot as well, Aurory. And if there's anybody from YGG here, kudos. Thank you. It's great to have you guys with us. A lot of people have been noticing new faces as well, so I'm glad to see that.
So as we know, Aurory is still in the early access, which means we aren't actually playing the full game yet. Now, it's quite a solid build for an early access game, but when we'll be able to launch properly? Johnny, can you tell us, please?
Super many. We said mid 2025 for the complete experience. So what we've talked about high level is we're currently in early access, right? We're testing stuff with you guys. Mid 2025, it's the goal to be in soft launch. And soft launch will be kind of a step above early access. But soft launch meaning we have all our systems, and now we're just tweaking basically the values, or we're tweaking this and that. But everything should be in place. This is where we ask you guys for your final feedback. Does this feel good? Yes, no, anything we want to improve. And then at the end of the year, that's where we do the full launch, essentially. So that's kind of like what I gave the team internally to see if they can hit those targets. The good news is my lead engineer feels comfortable.
Now, I know all you OGs in the Aurory space have been here from 2021 and may think that 4 years for a soft launch is a very long time. But I'm quite happy with the timeline of this, as it ensures the team have enough time to make sure the game is overall good and the players' input are able to be made, so we can ensure the experience of the game will be great for new players. By having the soft launch in around 6-ish months proves that it should be a success, especially if we do have multi-chains connected to us. Johnny also mentioned that by soft launch we should be able to have our land arguments where we can select different modifiers that will change our gameplay for our land runs too, which in turn means no 2 runs will ever be the same.
I can expand a bit on that, but when interchangeable moveset, so something I didn't touch about is in the new experience or the full experience is the augments, the land augments. So whenever you're going to be finishing a certain land, you'll be asked to choose between different boosts that will affect the gameplay. And these augments can vary they're like modifiers, if you will. So they can range from hurting you for higher risk or helping you for lower risk and whatnot. So the idea is that you can customize your run with these augments for bigger loot if you're feeling risky, or if you want to boost up your damage, you'll be able to choose certain augments, or you'll be able to choose a skill, like let's say a meteor. You'll be able to swap one skill with your current nefty, where you'll be able to use that meteor. So they're kind of interchangeable, but not fully. But you'll be able to kind of slot in an augment if it's a skill augment, essentially.
Another thing, guys, that we cannot sleep on is the current booster packs. With the soft launch slowly approaching, what will happen to these things which were made to help new players out? Well, these are also getting upgraded by the time that soft launch comes out.
We're going to be kind of revamping the logic of the booster packs and the content of the booster packs. So we're going to be creating thematics a bit more, like when we're going to be launching certain events, we'll be able to put together like Christmas pack or something along those lines, like a Christmas theme pack, if you will. Those are the kind of ideas that we're playing with right now that we're going to be implementing soon. Unique skins, obviously.
Now, although he didn't go into too much detail about how these will be changing that much, he did also mention that he wants to stop the various currencies you can get when doing events. So listen up, you event lovers. This one is for you.
I'm not a big fan of creating new currencies every time we do new events, like the bells, the candies. They're considered currencies like in the back end, but it's not really scalable because we have to create new currency for everything. And what happens if you have leftover currencies, like it sucks that you can't use it. And what we want to do is kind of create a live ops currency, if you will, something that kind of regroups all previous currencies from previous events into one currency that you'll be able to use in the shop to purchase, it could be booster packs or skins and whatnot. And then moving forward, we would kind of either use that currency instead of always having to create new kind of currencies. But the shop, along with the in-app purchases, are going to get a revamp by soft launch. I think we'll be in a good shape. We're finishing up the IAP feature right now.
Well, that's the top things you missed in my Aurory Talks with Johnny, guys. But I'm going to leave you with one more spicy thing before I do. Johnny, over to you.
You guys see about the Crystal Cave? Do you guys know about the Crystal Cave? No? Okay, so that's kind of like a hidden secret location in the lands that we'll be implementing. It's kind of like finding a secret crystal cave with a bunch of crystals that you'll be able to loot. These are kind of small examples of making the lands a bit more interesting. There's going to be different interactables, so you'll be able to interact with in landmarks. So those big swords that are like stuck in the ground and stuff, you'll be able to interact with them to get either some lore out of it or some items, resources, and it may be each of these challenges that you'll be completing will ask you to interact with all the landmarks, and only at the end, when you complete it all, you'll get something special. So those are the kind of things that we're currently implementing, and you guys will be able to get your hands on pretty shortly, actually.
But as the great Bugs Bunny once said, that's all, folks. Let me know what you are most excited for in the upcoming month, and also who do you want to see next on Aurory Talks. Catch you on the flip side. Peace out, Girl Scouts.